Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Nicole. Today we are going to read Little Red Riding Hood by the brothers Grimm and Harriet Pincus. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little maid who was loved by everyone who knew her. She was especially dear to her grandmother, who never tired of doing things for her. Once she made her a little hood of red velvet, which was so becoming that she never wore anything else. After that, people always called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day her mother said to her, "Little Red Riding Hood, here are some cakes and a jar of honey for you to take to your grandmother. She is weak and ill, and they will do her good. Go at once before it grows hot and walk properly and nicely. If you run, you may fall and break the jar of honey, and then there would be none left for grandmother. And where would you go? And when you go into her room, don't forget to say good morning and ask her how she feels." "I will be very careful," Little Red Riding Hood promised her mother. Now her grandmother lived deep in the woods, half an hour's walk from the village, and when Little Red Riding Hood reached the woods, she met a wolf. Since she did not know how wicked he was, she did not feel frightened. "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood," said he. "Where are you going to so early?" "To my grandmother's," she answered politely. "And what are you carrying in your basket?" "Cakes and honey. My grandmother is very weak and ill, and they will do her good." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?" "Her house stands beneath 3 tall oaks near a grove of hazelnut trees," replied Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf thought to himself, "This tender young thing would be a delicious meal and would taste even better than the old one. I must manage somehow to get both of them." When he walked along with Little Red Riding Hood for a while, he was thinking hard, and at last he said, "Little Red Riding Hood, look at the pretty flowers growing all around you. Don't hurry so. You should enjoy them. You are not even listening to the songs of the birds, though they're so delightful here in the woods." Little Red Riding Hood walked more slowly and looked around her, and when she saw the lovely flowers everywhere, she thought to herself, "If I take a pretty nosegay to my mother, she will be very pleased, and there is plenty of time." So off she ran. For each flower she picked, she saw a still prettier one beyond, and so she went farther and farther from the path. But the wicked wolf went straight to grandmother's house and knocked at the door. "Who's there?" cried grandmother. "Little Red Riding Hood," he answered in a gentle voice as possible, "and I've brought you some cakes and honey. Please open the door." "Lift the latch," cried the grandmother. "I'm too weak to get up." The wolf lifted the latch, the door flew open, and he fell on the grandmother and swallowed her whole. Then he put on her clothes and her nightcap, and he lay down in her bed and drew the curtains. All the time, Little Red Riding Hood was gathering flowers, and when she had as many as she could hold, she set off once more for her grandmother's. She was surprised to find the door standing open, and when she went inside, she felt very strange. "Oh dear, how frightened I am, though I don't know why. And I was so happy this morning to be coming to grandmother's." When she said good morning, there was no answer. Then she went up to the bed and drew back the curtains, and there lay her grandmother, with her cap pulled over her eyes, so that she looked very odd. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have! The better to hear you with, my dear." "Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have! The better to see you with, my dear." "What big hands you have! The better to hold you with, my dear." "But grandmother, what big teeth you have! The better to eat you with, my dear." And no sooner had the wolf said this than he bounded out of bed and swallowed up poor Little Red Riding Hood in one gulp. Having satisfied his hunger, he lay down again in bed. He fell asleep and began to snore loudly. Now a huntsman who was passing by the house heard him and thought, "How the old woman snores. I had better see if there's anything the matter with her." So he went into the room and walked up to the bed, and there was the wolf lying fast asleep. "At last I have found you, you old sinner," said he. "I have been looking for you for a long time." Just as he was about to shoot the wolf, he thought, "Oh, perhaps he has swallowed the grandmother whole, and she may yet be saved." So he did not fire, but he took a big pair of scissors and began to cut the wolf's stomach. And when he had made a few snips, Little Red Riding Hood appeared. And after a few more snips, she jumped out and cried, "Oh, how frightened I've been! It's so dark inside the wolf." And then out came the old grandmother, still living and breathing. Little Red Riding Hood went quickly and fetched some large stones with which she filled the wolf's body, and her grandmother sewed him up. When he woke up and was going to run away, the stones were so heavy that he fell down dead. And all three of them were very happy. The huntsman took the wolf's skin and carried it home. The grandmother ate the cakes and honey and felt so much better. And Little Red Riding Hood said to herself that she would never again wander alone in the woods, but would always mind what her mother had told her. Good lesson.